Wow. Nadal versus Federer, 2017 Australian Open Final, epic battle for GOAT. Greatest of all time. That's really, truly what I think it comes down to. That's why some people are saying, even Andy Roddick said, this could be not only the biggest match in the history of the Australian Open, but the biggest match in the history of tennis, period. I mean, it's all on the line for Federer and Nadal. But before I go into any more of that, let's break down the match and look at some very interesting numbers. All right, so first off, this is Federer versus Nadal, 35. XXX5. It's like a Super Bowl. And I got to tell you, the Super Bowl's coming up in a week. This feels a little more exciting to me than the actual Super Bowl. Maybe a lot more. This is very important. 23-11. It's the obvious stat that everyone will point to first. Nadal has totally owned Roger Federer in their head-to-head. 23-11. Sure, a lot of those wins came on clay, where Nadal has always had a major advantage over everyone, not just Roger Federer. But a lot of them are on hard courts. Some of them are at the Australian Open. The 2009 Australian Open comes to mind in the final, where Nadal had a similar circumstance like he did with Grigor Dimitrov, a long 5 hours, I think in 15 minutes match against Fernando Verdasco in the semifinals. The second semifinal, so the day after Federer had wrapped up his match, Federer had an extra day of rest. Nadal still beats Federer in a 5-set long, tiring match. You would have given Federer the edge with the extra day of rest. Didn't matter there. Interesting thing to point out about that, though, is that was 8 years ago. Exactly 8 years ago. And Nadal's 30 now. Nadal was 22 8 years ago. I think a 22-year-old is going to bounce back from the 5-hour-plus semifinal 48 hours before the final a lot better than Nadal now at age 30. His match, we're going to our next stat here, his match against Grigor Dimitrov was 4 hours 56 minutes, so just under 5 hours, and it was physical. If you watched that match from start to finish, you will know that that was a very rough physical match. I mean, Nadal really had to put a lot of miles on. Even though Federer's 5-set match against Stan Wawrinka in the semifinals, it went 5 sets as well, but it was 3 hours and 4 minutes. And on top of that, the points were just shorter and easier, a lot less distance covered. Nadal just did, in general, a lot more work. And on average, just point by point. So this is very interesting, So you could say that's a disadvantage. Nadal played 5 hours in the semifinal, but you know what? It's an advantage in that he just got a 5-hour practice match against the one player on tour who is most similar to Roger Federer. There's a reason why people call Dimitrov baby-fed, because his game is very similar to Roger Federer. Not just the way his strokes look, but the way he plays an attacking style and moves very well, very gracefully on the court to set up, take that ball earlier, turn defense into offense constantly. So Dimitrov plays a lot like Federer in that regard, and the strokes are similar too. And Nadal just got, almost 5 hours of practice against him, so Nadal should have the game plan dialed up pretty well for what he needs to do against Roger Federer. And that's what Nadal needs to do to win this match. Pretty much the same thing he did against Dimitrov, and just hope that Federer doesn't somehow play even better than Dimitrov did. Which, would be hard to believe. Dimitrov obviously plays a lot better defense than Federer does now. He's moving a lot better. He's a lot younger. But there are some ways that Federer did play better than Dimitrov. And if you look at all the matches that Federer did this year at the Australian Open, the one that is the most similar for me to him playing against Nadal, and you got to throw out the lefty serve thing, but Nishikori. So Federer played Nishikori in, what was that, the 4th round? Or was that, yeah, the round of 16. Federer played Nishikori, and I know Nishikori doesn't have a lefty serve like Nadal, but he can move and defend like a Nadal, and he also can attack like a Nadal. Now, I'm not going to say Nishikori's forehand is the same or better than Nadal's forehand, but Nishikori's forehand, and his backhand is pretty good too, but Nishikori's forehand is definitely a weapon on the tour, and he's able to go from defense to offense and turn it on with that forehand anytime, just like a Nadal does. So let's compare how Federer did against Nishikori versus how Dimitrov did against Rafa Nadal in the semifinal. First thing I'm going to look at is the first serve versus the second serve win percentage. So Federer against Nishikori took care of serve. He knew that he could get into some long rallies and get worn down and outlasted in a long match against Nishikori. It went 5 sets, and somehow he came out, the fresher of the two. He wins in the 5th set. And I think part of that is because Roger Federer was winning 80% of the time his first serve went in, 48% of the time his second serve went in. So, that's not the greatest, but he was winning half of the second serve points, and he was getting that first serve in, I think it was 68% of the time. So he's getting the first serve in the high 60s, and he's winning 80% of those first serves that are going in. Now, what did Dimitrov do against Nadal? 70% of win on the first serve versus 49% win on the second serve. So yeah, he got Federer by 1 percentage point, but I'm going to take that extra 10% of winning on the first serve over the 1% more winning second serves any day. I prefer that one. So he took care of serve a little better, especially the first serve, and that's important against Nadal. Also, winners versus errors. So Federer against Nishikori, 83 winners versus 47 unforced errors. So that's pretty good. I mean, he almost went positive 40. Whereas Dimitrov, positive 9. 79 winners, that's impressive in 5 sets. 79 winners against Nadal, against 70 errors. Now, Federer managed to hit more winners and significantly less unforced errors against Nishikori. And, a lot of commentators were describing how Nishikori moves so well, defends so well, covers the court so well. You could kind of compare him to a Djokovic, actually, I'd say. And he shrinks the court. They were saying how Nishikori will shrink the court for a Federer and make it harder to hit winners. Well, Federer still managed to hit 83 winners over 5 sets, doing better than Dimitrov did against Nadal and making a lot less errors in the process. Federer's going to have to reproduce numbers like these against Nadal tonight in about 6 hours. Oh my. So we're about 6 hours away from the final. I'm pretty excited. And Federer's going to have numbers like that again, because we saw 79 winners, 70 errors didn't cut it against Nadal with Dimitrov. And then finally, to me, what's the most important number in this match? And it's these at the bottom. If Nadal wins tonight, 17-15. Federer has 17 majors, Nadal has 15 majors. And if Nadal manages to win the very next major on the calendar, the French Open, which he's won a lot of them, he could do it again very easily, especially riding the confidence of winning the Australian Open. That all of a sudden becomes 17-16. Nadal's a 30-year-old man with 1 more to tie Federer, 2 to overtake the record, whereas Federer will be 36 towards about the U.S. Open time. I think his birthday's in August, and it's not looking good if that happens. This does not look good for Federer. And like I said, this is the epic battle for greatest of all time, and here's where it fleshes out. This is where it comes down to it. If Federer wins tonight, 18-14, all of a sudden, even though Nadal's 30, he's an old 30, he's got a lot more mileage on him than other players. That's a lot tougher. It's going to be devastating for Nadal to lose in this final. I know both players are saying they didn't expect to make it, and they've kind of been playing fearlessly, thinking, I didn't expect to do that well in this tournament anyways, just kind of testing the waters. And, Nadal's surely looking at his best chance to win at the French. Federer's thinking about Wimbledon going into this year. They're both in the final. Throw it all out. They're both going to be nervous. They both really care, and they both really need this because they're both trying to be greatest of all time. Battle for the GOAT. I'll say it again. So this is the most important stat, and that is part of why I think this is the number that determines who wins tonight. I think Federer, even though he gets a little tight, he gets a little nervous in these big matches. He's always been a little nervous playing Nadal every time. Those last 3 finals, us Federer fans know how heartbreaking it was to see Federer get to the final. Since 2012, he's been there 3 times. All 3 he's lost to Djokovic, twice at Wimbledon, once at the U.S. Open. And that's why we know he's going to do it. He's gonna know that he has to take care of business Everyone wants Federer to go down in history as the greatest of all time. Federer knows it. He has to complete his legacy. He has to do whatever it takes to win this. That's why I've got my man right here on my shirt. I think Federer is going to win this. And like I said, us Federer fans know how heartbreaking it's been to see him lose those 3 finals to Djokovic. And we're going to do whatever it takes, even if that means, wearing our Federer shirts, wearing our Federer hats. We may have to even turn our Federer hats backwards to rally Federer on in this big final, a little rally cap. Maybe us Federer fans will have to wear 4 Federer hats all at the same time to rally our man to the victory. Even if us Federer fans have to wear 3 signature Roger Federer tennis rackets around our neck as a necklace and 4 Roger Federer hats at the same time, we're going to do whatever it takes to get our man over the final. That's why my prediction is Roger Federer wins in 5 sets. I'm not even going to try to guess the scoreline. This is going to be a wild match, but I think Federer is going to actually outlast Nadal. I think the older Nadal doesn't bounce back from that almost 5-hour semifinal with 1 less day of rest than Federer had. He did it in 2009. He was 22 then. He's 30 now. Federer's fresher than ever. He took that 6 months off. He says he feels great. He says this is better than those 3 finals, the way he felt against Djokovic. All signs point to Federer's ready to do it. He knows he has to swing freely, play fearlessly, and I think Federer's going to do exactly that. He's going to come out and play fearlessly. As always, thanks for watching. I'm Matt from Crunch Time Coaching, and stick around for Pete's post-match analysis right after the match is over. Pete will be live right here on the Crunch Time Coaching YouTube channel, and you guys got to check it out because Pete does it better than anyone else with the post-match analysis. He's the man. All right, signing out. Biggest Fed fan in the world. I'll see you guys after tomorrow, after 18 happens.